So I know that today at the beginning we said that we want to find out why skill gap problems and how we can solve the skill gap problems. And we said that we're going to walk out with some call for action. So I'm going to attempt to do it. So why skill gap problem based on what you talked about, that one of the key things you talked about that that technology is consistently changing. Social, mobile, big data, cloud, Internet of Things, artificial intelligence, and you're big into Internet of Things. That technology change is forcing the company to change their business model. So Cisco, you heard that they have 70,000 employees, millions of customers. Cisco, and I used to think about Cisco, I used to think about routers and switches. But Cisco is no longer routers and switches. It's a completely different company. GE, who would have thought that GE is an analytics company, a data science company? Who would think that? So technology change is forcing the company to change their business model, which is also creating the new job requirements within the organization. As Jeanne is mentioning, that we need to reskill employees, and it's also creating the jobs, future jobs within the organization. And fourth thing, I think you're mentioning about world is changing, globalization, how globalization is having a huge impact on the skill gap problem. So 4 key reasons what we found out: the impact of globalization, technology change, business model change, and job role change. Now, how we plan to, we can solve it, that we talked about a lot of different solutions. So what's my takeaway, and what I learned from you is that we have to teach people how to learn. We have to teach people how to learn. So teaching employees how to learn is one of the way to solve the skill gap problem. But we also, within big organization, we have to have a framework on how to build a learning organization. Because a learning organization, an innovative learning organization, will be able to deal with this skill gap problem. So some of the things you talked about, if you want to build an innovative learning organization, that we need to develop the right learning culture within the organization. A leader, we need to have the right leader. Leader needs to have the ability to drive those changes within the organization. If you mislead, you cannot lead the organization effectively. As you see all the leaders over here, one thing I find out, they're all hard workers, they're passionate, they're focused, but they all have one thing in common, another thing in common, they're all lifelong learners. That's why they're effective leader. Organization needs to have also the right people within the organization. I believe Jeanne was mentioning we hire for culture, because you have to bring the right people who has learnable attitude, who have learning mindset. Third thing is that we have to do is that we also have to allocate resources within the organization to deploy this learning. And I think that one of you are mentioning is that we have to encourage risk-taking within the organization. So we have to build a right, safe learning environment for the organization. So we need to have the ability to build a learning culture, then we need to have learning plan. And when we're talking about learning plan, what you mentioned, that organization needs to have a learning goals. That goals needs to be tied back to the organizational objective. We also have to think about individual learners, but all learning goals needs to be tied with the organizational learning goals. We need to develop the right competency modeling, and some of the competencies that you talked about, that's always going to be relevant: leadership skills, emotional intelligence, risk-taking, collaboration, ethics, how to become an innovator. You talked about 21st century leadership skills that people need to have. So competency model is something you talked about. I'm still a big believer of having dynamic competency model within the organization. And then all of you talked about that we need to apply different type of learning methods, whether it's e-learning, collaborative e-learning, whether it's a classroom training, whether it's coaching, mentoring. We have to embed everything, and we also need to consistently assess what we are learning. Is the learning is having impact on the organizational ROI? And then I saw when Mudit was talking about 5 pillars, one of the things was coming there about having a learning operation. Now that you said that we're going to build a learning culture, we're going to have a learning plan, but we also have a learning operation that need to deal with the learning content. They need to deal with learning technology that Cisco provides. They need to deal with the learning delivery, and they also need to deal with learning administration. How do I do that? Was I able to summarize it? Did I miss anything?
Sounds pretty good, I think.
Okay, great. So build a learning organization, teach your employees how to learn, and be a lifelong learner. The moment we think we know it all, we stop growing. Develop the passion for learning, be a lifelong learner. Thank you.